Welcome back to episode 5, Not Another Moto Pod, hosted by Sam Fury. This week we're going to be talking Anaheim 2, round 3 of the 2025 Supercross season. We'll go over some 250s, 450s, look into the points, look forward to next week's Triple Crown, and into some betting. So let's jump right in. We'll start with the 250 class as usual. Had a really good weekend of racing. All the races really delivered this week. 250s, 450s, even the heat races. We got our title favorites up to the top as we expected earlier in the season in both classes. So let's jump right into it. 250 class, we had Hayden Deegan taking his first win of the season. Deegan really looked like the fastest guy all day. He was really putting it together. He got by Juju in his heat race, made a semi-aggressive, not dirty move to get by Juju in the heat race and really ran away from there. Going into the main event, Juju kind of tried to give it back to him. Deegs wasn't having any of it. Deegs really ran away with it. Was in control from the second turn on to the end of the race. So really glad to see Deegan back to form. We got some trash talk on the podium. That's the Deegan we expect, and that's the Deegan we like to see out there racing. He really races better with that chip on his shoulder. He's been pretty respectful on the podium these last couple weeks and just hasn't been himself. So maybe trash talking Deegan is what he needs and what the class really needs, honestly. Second, we do have Juju Beaumer. Juju got out front early with Deegan, tried to put a move on Deegs in the second turn. And like I said, Deegan wasn't having any of it. Juju kind of rode around in second by himself until late in the race. He was struggling a bit in the whoops, doing that jump line late in the race. And almost had a move made on him by Jordan Smith late, but held on and kind of rode again all by himself in second place to maintain the points lead. Was riding well in his heat race, was leading for a while. Deegs caught him straight up, made again, not a dirty move, but semi-aggressive, a great block pass, truthfully. Juju put it down, and then he unfortunately jumped on a red cross flag, so he did finish fifth in his heat race, though he was the third across the line. Obviously, due to that penalty, he had two-position penalty. Third place, Cole Davies, his first ever podium. I'm kind of upset. I was going to call Davies for his first podium next week for the Triple Crown, but he really rode great. He started around seventh, not the whole shots we've been expecting from Davies, neither in the heat race where he charged up to second and almost made a pass for the win. So Davies rode well from about seventh up to third. He was solid in fourth, and Jordan Smith went down, made the pass to get his first podium. It was really cool. They talked about it on the broadcast this week, the all-teenager podium. It hasn't happened since 2011 in the 250 class, and here we had it. First time since 2011. Deegs 19, Juju 18, Cole Davies only 17 years old. So really cool to see, and cool to see his development. In the press conference, he said that he saw this coming. That's really cool. To see that confidence and to see the all-out speed from a kid like Davies, who was almost unknown as of last year. So to be developed this quick, this early, he's going to be a force in the future. And again, like I kind of preluded to a minute ago, I think he can do big things in this Triple Crown next week off the strength of his starts. Fourth place, we had Jordan Smith. I don't know what to say about Jordan. Jordan, a boneheaded move, in my opinion, to try to go get Juju in the whoops. He really sent it pretty hard. He's lucky to only have lost one spot. Jordan's only chance at this championship, in my opinion, was to be on the podium every single race. He's lucky to only get fourth again. Cody Schock was about 30 seconds behind Jordan when Jordan did go down. So Jordan did fortunately for him, beat him to get fourth place in salvage, but losing some points in the championship. And like I said, in my opinion, Jordan looks like he could win a race in this class, but he doesn't have the all-out speed. And so really his only path to the title, again, in my opinion, was to have podiumed every race. And him falling off the podium and showing that he is beatable and still is, kind of susceptible to making kind of bonehead moves, is a bit upsetting to see from Jordan this late in his career. He's a much smarter rider than this. He's shown that he doesn't, again, have the all-out speed as the other guys, but he's shown his consistency. So hopefully Jordan can get back up there in the next couple weeks. I think next week may be a bit difficult on him. His starts haven't been incredible. He's been right up in the 4, 5, 6 range every week, which is great, but on these short races next week, we might see him further down in the lineups. We might pick him for another fourth place next week. We'll see. Fifth place, Cody Schock. Cody Schock rode awesome all the way from his heat race. He led from the jump, led all the way to the end, and won his first heat race of the year, second of his career. He held off Cole Davies late, who was charging in his heat race. So Cody Schock, fifth place. It's really cool to see. I think that's a 7.65 now for Cody Schock on the year. So Cody is riding awesome. Really good to see Cody Schock up there in fifth place. And wouldn't be surprised to see him knock off a fourth before the end of the year. A podium, maybe pushing it, maybe in the right situation. If someone gets a bad start or something, but really cool to see Schock up there, like I said. Sixth place, Joe Shimoda. Joe, another gritty ride with that broken fingers on his hand. He got fourth in his heat race, kind of looked pretty comfortable. Rode around in that 6, 7, 8 range all race. So look good for Joe. Unfortunate about the fingers. We're not going to get to see that all out speed. Hopefully this little break after next week will do him well, and he can heal up a bit. But I don't see him winning this title. I didn't see him winning this title preseason, but after the first race, he looked fast. So maybe that was something on his mind. Again, unfortunately, I don't see it anymore for him, but great for Joe to finish in sixth place after last week's seventh. In seventh place, we have Michael Mosiman. Mosiman rode great. Mosiman was down early. He was in 20th early in the race. Rode all the way up to seventh as a Star Racing Yamaha rider should. But we really haven't seen that yet from Mosiman this year, so that was really good. He finished second in his heat race as well. So maybe a bounce back for Mosiman here. Maybe see a top 6, top 5. That would be really cool to see Mosiman back in the mix. I don't see him on the podium. I don't think he has that speed just yet. He did reference and say it was a building year for him. But seventh place is a good bounce back for Mosiman. Eighth place, we have Drew Adams. Drew Adams has finally made his debut. Unfortunately, with Ty Masterpool going out on the week and Marchbanks going out with a shoulder injury, Drew Adams was called up last minute. Finished good over in eighth place. He started the race early, battling with Cole Davies in the 7th, 8th position. Wasn't able to grab a toe of Davies. I think that would have been really cool to see Drew's all-out speed in the top 5. But to finish 8th in his debut race is good for Drew Adams. I'll probably see him in the top 5 this year. He's got some speed. He showed that last year in the Futures, or the SMX Next, as they're calling it now. So we look forward to seeing some big things from Drew Adams. Like I said, maybe a top 5. 9th, Anthony Bourdon. Another 9, 10, 11 range finish for Bourdon. That's really good for him. He's a really solid rider out there. 10th place, Hunter Yoder. I believe this is his first 10th place of the year. I think he might have gotten 11th or 10th last week. But a really good ride from Yoder, really showing what he can do. Would really like to see him in the top 8 before the end of the year. I think that would be a really big step for him and a really big statement for Hunter Yoder, who has kind of gotten the short end of things throughout his career. So really great to see him up in the top 10. Lux Turner, 11th place. Really great ride from Lux. I think this is a career best for Lux Turner. He looked good in his heat race, too. He looked pretty feisty, so good for him at 11th. 12th, we have Parker Ross. Parker Ross got an unbelievable start. Rode up in the 2-3 range early. He looked good. I thought he might hold on for, a 6th place or so. I do believe he went down. It looked like in the background. Later in the race, he did go down to secure that 12th place, but great ride for him. That's a career best for him. I believe he's gone 17, 15, 12 now. So great for Parker Ross. 13th, we have Jet Reynolds. Jet's back in the mix. A solid ride from him. Would like to see him more as a staple in the top 10, along with these other guys, Bourdon and Yoder. We may see that coming soon for Jet Reynolds. So a good building year for him. 14th, TJ Albright. That's 3 for 3 for main events on Albright for the year. So really looking good. Really good for the rider, on the Yamaha, TJ Albright. 15th, Gavin Towers won another LCQ race. That's his second LCQ win of the year. I think he got in through the main event last week. He won the first LCQ of the year. So looking good for Gavin Towers. He is building. 15th, not really where we expect him. I'd like to see him in this top 12 range. We may see that later in the year, but just not quite there yet aboard that Firepower Honda. 16th, we have Nick Thury. I think this is Nick Thury's first main event of the year. Was really surprised to not see him in the main these first two weeks. So good for Nick Thury to get in through his heat race and climb his way up to 16th. 17th, we have the return of Enzo Lopes. Enzo Lopes is a really fast Club MX rider in the last couple of years. He unfortunately didn't get to race last year, was aboard the Star Yamaha, but did have some arm pump surgery before the year that did not go great for him. So he's been having some nerve issues. So really great to see him back with the Bar X team. This is his first race of the year. He had a really bad start. I believe he referenced later in a press conference that he hurt his knee. So battling up to seventh place. Good for Enzo. Hope that's not a lingering issue. He could be a top 10 guy once he gets settled in. Like I said, he was a staple in the 4-5 a couple years ago aboard that Club MX Yamaha. 18th, we have Dylan Walsh making his second main of the year. 19th, Josh Faries. This was his, I believe he's 3 for 3 this year. He got second in the LCQ. 20th, we had Colin Jurin, who made his first 250 main event since 2014. Unbelievable. 11 years have passed. He's been racing along all this time. He's raced some outdoors. He did make a 450 main in 2018, but this is his first 250 main in 11 years. That's awesome. That's a really cool story. 21st, we have Preston Massiangelo, his first main event of his career, aboard the 800. He pulled the whole shot in the LCQ to no one's surprise. Something about that number, to my Alessi fans. So good for Preston to make his first main event, finish 21st. Obviously, we want to see better from him, and he wants better of himself. But look forward to seeing him make some mains, and obviously he can pull some starts. So we look to see what he can do later this year. And 22nd, we had Max Sanford. I believe he DNF'd. I didn't see much of him. He got in straight through the heats, and just didn't do much else on the night. So 22nd, good for him. But we look to see more out of Max Sanford as well. Looking forward, I kind of referenced this already, but we do have some injuries in the class. We talked about this last week with Talon Hawkins, Avery Long. We didn't see either of those guys this week. Styles Robertson also did not come back this week. We'll see when he makes his appearance. I believe he had a wrist injury that's giving him some trouble. Again, a Time Master Pool, broken fingers, no timeline on him. And Marchbanks, it looks like a shoulder, so he may be out for a while. And then again, as Ryder DiFrancesco, it seems that he may be out for the rest of the 250 Supercross season. So hopefully he can heal up and see him outdoors. That would be great. On to the 450 class, where we had an unbelievable night of racing. Another great battle, such as last week. We are really spoiled with back-to-back really great races in the 450 class. This is a really deep class, so it's really cool to see it change out a lot up front. We've had 3 different winners in 3 rounds, 250s and 450s. Again, it's really cool to see. Similar to last year, I think we had first 5 races of last year in both classes had different winners. So really awesome to see things mix up a bit, again, with how deep this class really is. First place, Jet Lawrence, finally got a win. He looked like the fastest guy all day. He didn't ride up front all day, unfortunately. He was in second a lot of the day. His entire heat race, he looked visibly scared to make a move on Jason Anderson. It was really weird to see. We know they have history and they've got some beef from last year's A2. But Jet didn't want to put a wheel wrong around Anderson. It was really weird in the heat race. And that came again to the main event. Anderson got the lead early. With a pass on Jay Coop, and Jet came back from third to get by Jay Coop and then put the heat on Anderson for a while. But man, he took a while to get by him. He was really, really trying to place every wheel right. He did not want that smoke with Anderson this week. But really cool to see him get the win. As soon as he got past Anderson, he immediately put on a 2.5 second gap. And again, he looked like the fastest guy. He just looked a bit timid. Again, racing Jason Anderson, so who he does have some beef with, of course. Second, maybe a surprise second on the night, Ken Roxon. His second podium on the year. He looked really good. He's spicy on those early laps. He made a move on Jet. He made a move on Hunter. And then unfortunately made a mistake where they both got him back, but got his way back up there to get past Anderson. A really good ride for Roxon. Unfortunately, by the time he got by Anderson, Jet was way too far up front, for Roxon to go after him. But a really good ride for Ken Roxon, and he is your red plate holder. This is awesome start on the year for Ken Roxon. I believe we had a 2.42 for Roxon on the year, so really good riding for him. Third, we have Jason Anderson, again back on the podium, same as Anaheim 1. Anderson was really good all day. His starts were on point. He looked really comfortable aboard the bike. Won his heat race. He held off Jet the entire race. He held off Jet for about half the race in the main event. Anderson looks spicy. We know he's been sick for the last couple of weeks, so coming down off of that was really cool to see the old guys, Roxon and Anderson, battling on the night in the main event. Fourth, we had Chase Sexton. Sexton finished third in his heat and fourth in the main. He didn't have too much fight to him this week. We heard he was sick. Maybe that was the core of things. He looked fast where he was, but he didn't make too many moves forward. I believe he made a couple moves early in the race to get by a couple guys, but sitting in fourth was all he had for the night. He really didn't have much for those guys. He did almost get by Jet late in the heat race after Jet and Anderson battled for a while. Jet made a mistake in the final turn, and Sexton almost got him, but really wasn't up there in the fight with the guys. We look to see more, from Sexton, and we look to see him back up front with some good starts next week in the Triple Crown. Fifth, Hunter Lawrence, another fifth for him. Solid ride. It's kind of where I expect him on the year. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see him closer to the podium, but he started in second. I mean, look at the guys who got by him. They're no slouches, so fifth place is good for Hunter. He's been sitting in front of Jet the last couple of weeks and just kind of holding Jet up. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen him move over more for Jet and try to catch a toe early in these races. Again, this is 2 weekends in a row that I can think of that Hunter Lawrence has kind of just sat in front of Jet and made mistakes before Jet was able to get around him. But if I'm Hunter, knowing that Jet's the fastest guy on the track, I might let Jet around me and try to catch a toe. Like I said, they ride with each other all the time. He know how he's going to ride, so maybe to pick up on some of his lines and some of his speed would not be a bad idea for Hunter. Sixth place, we have Justin Cooper. Jay Coop's been a bit of a disappointment for me this year. He's gone 7-11-6. In his heat race, he was 12th, worked his way to 10th, but really wasn't making passes. I guess he started this jump line in the two whoop sections early in the heat race, and it wasn't doing him any favors. Didn't qualify out of the heat. Won the LCQ as he should. Led from the jump. He got the start and led to the finish. But leading out front for about 6 minutes of this race, he looked all right. But it was very obvious to me that Anderson and Jet were faster than him. Not holding people up, but maybe bunching a bit. And so to fall back to sixth from first, not great for Jay Coop. About where I would expect him on the year, but we would like to see him battling forward instead of going backwards. Maybe we'll see a better Jay Coop next week with the Triple Crown if he can hone his starts back as we're used to seeing from him. Seventh place, Eli Tomac. Man, it sucks to see Tomac back in seventh, but he did make some moves late. He probably was riding the fastest through the pack. He started in about 17th after the first lap, worked his way up to seventh. He made an Instagram post about his starting gate. It would have been the best starting gate early, but we got some rain in the 250 class main event that really affected the rut out front of his gate. So he really had a bit of a slippery start there. So starting back in 17th isn't going to do him any favors. This is the second week out of 3 that we've seen him have to battle his way from the back. So we know Tomac's got the speed, and I mean, he won his heat race by like 9 seconds over Cooper Webb. So we know Tomac's got it. And so we'd really like to see that next week. I'm really looking forward to big things from Tomac next week at the Triple Crowns. We know he is statistically the best of all time at these Triple Crowns. So truthfully, he's tied with Jet in points. I think Tomac goes out and wins next week, and I think he takes back the red plate. 8th place, we had Cooper Webb, another week where he's kind of invisible. Not as great of a start as the last few weeks where he went 4-3. 8th is not great for Webb, and getting caught by Tomac late didn't do him any favors. They did both pass Mookie pretty late in the race to grab 7th and 8th, so that is good. He still had some battle in him. He was battling down with Tomac to the very end, but Webb's got to get up there to get in the hunt. We know when we go east, that's more of Webb's speed anyway, so look for Webb in these next couple weeks to really cement himself as one of the championship guys despite a rough race this week. 9th, we have Malcolm Stewart. Malcolm was 5th in his heat race. We didn't see much from Malcolm on the night. Not on the broadcast much. He was in 7th for a while, like I referenced, and got passed by both Tomac and Webb. So just kind of hung out in 9th. A whatever night for Mookie. He's been around this range. That's all right. We'd like to see him battle towards his top 5 in the future. Barsha, 10th place. Him and Mookie have been almost synonymous these last couple weeks. So, I mean, about where they're gonna finish, both of them. 11th, we have Joey Savacci back in that 10, 11, 12 range where he belongs. 10th last week, 11 this week. Good for Savacci. 12th, we have Benny Bloss. He seems to be right around Savacci all year, whether it was the first week where they crashed together and finished 21st and 22nd, or last week around 10, 11, 12, and this week again 11, 12. So good for Bloss. 13th, Mitchell Oldenburg, the beta teammate of Benny Bloss. Good for Freckle there to finish 13th. 14th, another rough race for Colt Nichols. I really expect him to be inside this top 10. He's got the speed. We know he's battling a shoulder injury. Maybe that's what's been holding him down. Another LCQ for Colt Nichols where he finished third. Not great. Not a great start for him on the year. Hopefully to see Colt build going forward. He's a 250 Supercross champion. He beat Jet straight up. He beat Christian Craig straight up. This guy knows how to ride. He finished fourth in his first Supercross race, albeit aboard the HRC Honda. But I mean, Kenny's showing right now that this Suzuki is not holding anybody back. So hope to see Colt up there closer to the top 10. 15th, Justin Hill. He finished 8th week one. I believe this is his second 15th in a row. I mean, Hill's faster than this on all out speed, but I mean, he's just not a guy right now. That's all right. Hill will build closer to the end of the year. Maybe see him back in that top 10, maybe top 8 range. 16th, Dylan Ferrandis. Ferrandis looked like he had an okay race going, and then went down. Well, had to pull off when AP went down, and their bikes interlocked. So Dylan had to pull over, lost some time there. It looked like he had made his way back up to 15th, I believe. And then we did see him rolling around late in the race and lost a spot. So maybe something happened to Dylan off camera that we didn't see. So 16th for Dylan. 17th, Shane McElrath. Just a whatever ride for Shane. Shane's got to be closer to this top 12 range. So, we'll look forward to see what we see from Shane later in the year. 18th, Jerry Robin, his first main event of the year. Great for him. We did see him go down at some point as soon as Jet got by Anderson and the Anderson-Roxon battle began. We saw Jerry down as soon as the camera came around. So 18th for him. Not great, but an okay finish. Jerry's really got speed to be a top 15 guy. Obviously, he's not aboard the bike to put him up here with these other guys, but good for him to finish 18th. 19th, Cade Clayson. Didn't see him much on camera. Just 9th in his heat race. Pretty invisible ride, but good for Cade to make the main event. 20th, Kevin Moran, second week in a row that he's come out of the LCQ. Good for him to finish 20th. 21st, Freddie Noren. Freddie Noren is much faster than a couple of these guys. He should be in this top 15 range. Not really sure what happened to Freddie. He did finish 9th in his heat race, so good for Freddie. But 21st, not where we expect to see him. 22nd, of course, DNF, Aaron Plessinger, unfortunately on his birthday, 22nd place. Again, his bike got interlocked with Dylan Ferrandis early in the race and ruined it. Looked like his throttle housing, so not great for him. He had to pull off. So, and then unfortunately this week we did have an injury to Jorge Prado. I would have liked to see Prado race this track. It would have been interesting with the bit of rain that we got in the 250 main. It was a bit slippery up front. And we know with great starts. I wonder if he could have finished in this 5, 6, 7 range with Hunter, J. Coop, and Tomac had he gotten a start in this rain. Unfortunately, it seems like a dislocated shoulder from what they're reporting. So we're not sure when we'll see him back, but hopefully soon. Hopefully he's not out for the year. It doesn't look like anything too severe. All right, so let's jump into the points battle. Like I said, Juju Bomer holds the red plate. I believe he has a 7-point gap on Hayden Deegan. We look to see Deegan, make this a fight. We've got, I think, 7 more races left in this West Coast. And so I'm looking forward to the battle between these two guys. Triple Crown should make things interesting next week. And then in the 450, we have Ken Roxon with the red plate on the Suzuki. It's Kenny's first red plate since after A1 in 2022, which is insane to think about, but it's really insane to think about Suzuki's last red plate coming after A2 2015 with Ken Roxon. So it's been 10 years to the round since Suzuki had a red plate, same rider, same round. It's awesome. It's really cool to see. Looking forward to seeing that yellow bike with those red backgrounds next week. We look to see, I think we have Chase Sexton is a point down, and then we have a battle below with Tomac and Jet. At 57 points each. So they're about 5 points behind Ken Roxon in this battle. And so looking forward into next week's Triple Crown, as far as the points go here, I expect to see Tomac get a win here. Tomac's always been great at these. His starts look okay. Ken Roxon is really great at these as well, so Kenny might be up there. But what I really expect to see next week is some mixture of Tomac, Jet, and Ken Roxon. and then we'll look for Chase around fourth place. Chase doesn't really stand out in these Triple Crowns. Obviously, he knows how to win races. He can win shorter races if he gets to start, but what I would really expect to see the guys who have been starting good up front. I guess that would include Hunter Lawrence as well. Hunter's been up there and has been fading back a bit, so maybe if Hunter can hold on. So those five are really the guys I'm going to look forward next week to see. And like I said, if Tomac wins next week, he will probably take the red plate from Roczen unless Roczen does finish second. And then in the 250 class, I kind of referenced this earlier. I really think Cole Davies gets a win in one of these things. This was going to be the week I was calling him for a podium just because of the way that he started and hole shot it a lot. Juju's a great starter as well. So, and then of course we have Deegan. He's won 2 heat races on the year, knows how to win in these short races as well. So I do see a mixture of the same podium as this week. Next week, I'd like to see, I imagine that Juju may get a win. And then Deegan would finish second, and then Davies again in third. That's the podium I'm calling for next week. So if you're a betting guy, I mean, if you got bets on that, or if you could bet on Tomac in the 450 class, I think that's a great bet. So that is it for this week. I think I went a bit long this week, but we had some really good racing, a lot to talk about. It's really cool to see the variance in the last 3 rounds, early in the year. So really cool to see. Looking forward to Triple Crown next week, and then we head east in the 250 class. So again, you can follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. It helps if you like our videos or the pod on Spotify. So thanks.